I was with Colton for 6 years, and he never once brought up marriage. That morning his phone rang while he was shaving. He asked me to pick it up. The screen showed an unsaved number. When I answered, a tearful girl whispered, "Colton, I need you so much right now." I went cold, thumbed the speaker, and let the sound of her pain twist Colton into someone I didn't recognize. The woman on the line was his first love, his late brother's fiancée. Colton didn't offer a single word of explanation, he just grabbed his car fob and walked out. Later I packed my life into boxes and left without goodbye, never imagining he'd tear the city apart looking for me. Dusk settled, streetlights flickered on. I eased Colton's mouth from my throat and muttered, "Your stubble's killing me." He'd been on a business trip half the month and was starving for touch. For 3 days he kept me in bed so long my legs felt like borrowed limbs. "That all you feel, pain?" He pinched my cheek, grinning. "Then shave me, yeah?" I hummed agreement. Razor halfway up his jaw, the phone buzzed. "Probably one of the guys wanting drinks," he said, nodding toward the nightstand. I wiped lather from my hands, saw the same UN-saved string of digits, and tapped accept. "Colton, I need you so much right now." The voice cracked, equal parts fragile and seductive. Recognition slammed into me. The phone almost slipped. Face blank, I hit speaker and lifted it toward him. Her broken sobs spilled into the bathroom. Colton's hand froze mid-stroke. I ended the call. He twisted the faucet, splashed freezing water over his cheeks. "Are you going to her?" I asked. Silence. He didn't even reach for a towel, just snatched the phone, snagged his car fob, and strode out. I stood frozen until the door slammed, then noticed a sharp heat on my right shoulder where he'd shoved me into the jam. I knew the caller, Juliet, the woman who'd almost become his sister-in-law. They'd dated in high school, she'd vanished overseas, then returned as his brother's girlfriend. Before vows were spoken, his brother died in a private jet crash. I'd always known she still owned a piece of him. Every business trip yielded 2 gifts, every holiday, a text he thought I wouldn't see. Even her puppy, Jordan, had been a birthday present from Colton. How many secret meetings they'd had, I didn't want to guess. Around 10 my phone danced with messages from Ivy. Holy shit, did Colton just cheat? He's at the speakeasy with his arm around some chick. Wait, it's Juliet. That absolute dog. 3 blurry snaps followed, Colton cradling her, Juliet's glazed, flirtatious stare. Ivy, want to storm in and catch them red-handed? Me, pass. Too tired. I carried a bottle of wine to the balcony. Later, scrolling Instagram, I saw Juliet's new post, "Only you in the whole world treat me right." The photo was a grainy silhouette, but after 6 years I knew Colton's shoulders better than my own. I flashed back to the year his brother died, our 2nd year together. After the funeral Colton hosted a dinner for the friends who'd helped at the service. Juliet and I were both there. She initiated adding me on WhatsApp that night. We ran into each other a few times after, always with Colton hovering, never deeper than small talk. I waited in the living room until sunrise painted the windows pale grey. Exhaling, I washed my face, changed clothes, and dragged my suitcase from the closet. We'd started dating junior year, me the pursuer, him the pursued. Girls mobbed him, yet he chose me. When I asked why, he said, "You're different." Different how? He only smiled. After graduation he joined Grey. His brother was gone, his father drowning in starlets, the board 8 heirs alive. I stayed, poured vodka with shaking hands until a deal closed and I vomited blood. Soon rumors branded me the tramp who slept her boyfriend's contracts into existence. At first we laughed it off, then Colton's hesitations grew longer, his apologies thinner. I knew it was time to go. I opened a boutique agency. Colton, maybe from guilt, funded half. I never took it free, I wired his share of profits every quarter. I moved out of his loft. 3 days, 0 calls. Friday night, pacing the Ivy Lounge foyer, I collided with them. I angled to pass, but Colton said, "Sierra, something you need?" Juliet's fingers clamped around his arm. "Let's go in, Colton." She eyed me like I was contagious. "Ellis must be busy, let's not bother her." I gave a lazy smile. "Right, I'm meeting a client unlike you two, lovely and idle." Juliet bit her lip, color draining. I stepped inside. My prospect cancelled last minute, family emergency. Half an hour alone with a bottle told me the contract had slipped to a competitor. I killed the pour, headed out, and ran into Juliet relining her lips in the mirror. Ellis, she chirped, nerves flickering. Heard you launched your own shop, impressive. Not like me, I'm hopeless. Juliet. Colton appeared in the hallway, gaze softening the instant it landed on her. That softness, he'd never once turned it on me. Even in bed he was steel and hunger. After, maybe drowsy banter, but never tenderness. Colton, she sang, tucking herself under his arm. I was just saying Ellis is such a powerhouse, wonder what kind of man she'll snag next. I caught the barb. Morgan, you might overextend yourself, I said. But if I do date again, I'll pick someone single, unlike certain women who specialize in theft. And any man who can be stolen isn't worth keeping. Sierra. Colton barked, face thunderdark. I rolled my eyes and walked away. I'd barely been back in my loft 10 minutes when Colton showed up. He knew I lived here. That didn't surprise me. I didn't let him in. I stayed just inside the door. He stayed outside. What do you want? Mad at me? Colton raised an eyebrow. Sierra, I always thought you were the perfect bed warmer. Never figured you had such a temper. Bed warmer? Shock flashed across my face, then fury. 6 years together, and that's all I get, 2 cheap syllables. He reached to touch my cheek. I slapped his hand away and followed with a ringing smack across his face. Get lost. I hit hard. Red streaks bloomed on his cheek. He didn't get angry, he smiled. That mad? You didn't exactly lose out, did you? The 7 digits in your bank account, care to guess how many of them came from me? Sierra, it was consensual fun between grown-ups. Don't tell me you caught feelings. Fun. I squeezed my eyes shut. The anger curdled into nausea. Look, Sierra, this is the man you loved for 6 years, and in his head you're nothing but a disposable bedwarmer. Pathetic. Pointless. But fine. Better to see it now. Yeah, just fun, I said coldly. So, Mr. Gray, can you please screw off? Why should I? He stepped closer. I was about to shove him when the elevator dinged and a figure stepped out. Juliet. Sierra. Before I could react, the lunatic lunged and slapped me, shrieking, shameless. Sierra, Colton's my boyfriend now. I slapped her right back, then, still furious, drove my knee into Colton's gut. You 2 psychos, get out of my face. I spun to slam the door, but Juliet blocked it. Her eyes were blood red. Colton never loved you, Sierra. What makes you think you're any better? We all know how you landed the Mr. Client deal, don't we? I looked at Colton, the past flickered through my mind. My mouth twisted into a smirk. So you've always believed I slept with Mr. Client? The man had hinted, sure. The night he invited me to a hotel to sign, I phoned his wife first. Everyone knows Mr. Client is terrified of her. He signed anyway, grimacing. Colton's expression soured. My grin widened. If I'm so used, why keep me around for years? Oh, right. I gave a brittle laugh, fists clenched. Back then you hadn't consolidated power in the grey. You still needed me. I turned to Juliet. Now that you're safely perched, you decide the first love is better, huh? I flipped them both the bird. You 2 deserve each other. Think you're so pure. Juliet sneered. A played-out tramp who actually believed Colton would marry her. Colton stood there, letting her spit venom, not lifting a finger. We're both women, Morgan. Didn't your mother teach you basic respect? I grabbed a fistful of Juliet's hair and shoved. She hit the floor. What the hell? Colton pushed me. My back slammed into the wall, a dull pain blooming behind my ribs. What's going on here? 2 precinct officers climbed the stairs, scowling. Someone called about a disturbance. All of you, come with us. No client meeting, no closed deal, and now this circus. My night was perfect. The hallway cams told the whole story, so the lecture was brief. Handle private matters quietly and stop waking the neighbors. Outside the precinct, Colton murmured something. Juliet shot me a frosty glare and slid into the car. Colton walked over, eyes complicated. You and Mr. Client, you really didn't sleep with him? I said no. You still don't believe me, do you? I spotted Juliet craning her neck from the back seat. I stepped closer to Colton, poked his chest. You called 6 years a game. Fine, may you and your former sister-in-law live happily ever after, locked together for life. I shoved him hard and climbed into a waiting cab. When Colton got back to the car, his face was dark, unreadable. He started the engine and suddenly asked, "Back then, did you actually see Sierra and Mr. Client check into a hotel together?" I took 2 days off, burrowed under my blankets, and slept until the world spun. When I finally surfaced, I boiled instant noodles and binge-watched reality shows. The peace didn't last. Mom called. "Sierra, come home tomorrow for dinner. I have good news." I didn't ask what. I just said yes. Sean was there when I walked in the next day. His mom's son from her second marriage. The guy took off soon after Sean was born, chasing some new woman. As a girl, I'd been ignored. Grandma and Grandpa wanted a grandson, even helped Dad find a mistress. Mom divorced him, only to marry someone worse. She raised Sean and me alone. I know how hard that was. She kept piling food on my plate. Sean ate in silence. She peeled a glossy, soy-braised prawn and set it in my bowl. "Sierra, your little brother's getting married at year-end." My chopsticks paused. I already smelled the pitch coming. "The bride's family wants a new place. We picked one, only 300,000. Sounds nice. Go ahead." She beamed. "I knew you'd help. Sean saved 10,000. You can cover the rest." I inhaled quietly and set my chopsticks down. "I don't have the money. Ask Jordan." "Sorry, Yang. His company's huge. 300,000 is pocket change to him. We broke up. He has a new girlfriend." I looked at Sean, still staring at his bowl. "Live within your means. You're 25, you can't lean on people forever." Sean quit high school, did nothing for a year. I found him an apprentice mechanic job. He said the pay insulted him and walked. Since then I've lined up 5 or 6 gigs, none lasted more than 4 months. "Who asked for your lecture?" Sean slammed his chopsticks down and stormed out. The door shook in its frame. "Vance Jun." Mom took 2 steps after him, then spun to glare at me. "Sierra, can't you see how hard I've worked? Why can't you show a little understanding?" "I've shown plenty. Have you ever considered me? You ask for 300,000 like I'm an ATM. If I had it, I wouldn't hand it over." I took a card from my bag and placed it on the table. "There's 20,000 in there. For his house, that's my share. The rest is his problem." I left while a fine drizzle was starting. Under my umbrella, shoes splashing on the wet sidewalk, I flashed back to the year I turned 10. Mom always favored Sean, sure, but she never actually shortchanged me. That year, when Mom truly couldn't scrape together tuition for Sean and me, she secretly sold her blood. A neighbor finally whispered the truth to me. So all these years, no matter how much she spoiled Sean or how creatively she siphoned money from me to him, I never once said no. But right now, I'm suddenly tired. I don't want to be a lifelong crutch for my kid brother. I want a little life of my own. After I lost 3 deals in a row, it dawned on me someone was sabotaging me. I asked a friend to poke around and quickly learned Juliet was stirring the pot. Whatever she promised those clients, every one of them ended up signing with Gray Holdings instead. I called a former colleague from Gray. She said Colton had lately sidelined several veteran executives. He'd promoted a crop of new faces. Some were capable enough, but they were green, and without seniority they couldn't keep the rank and file in line. She also told me Colton had replaced his executive assistant with Juliet. I couldn't fathom what the 2 of them hoped to gain. Did they expect me to beg for mercy? Total lunatics. I turned around, pulled strings, and sold my boutique agency. Added to my savings, I'd never have to worry about food or rent again. While I was Googling retirement towns, Colton rang. "You sold your agency, Sierra. I just wanted you to fold. And you sold the damn thing." He roared so loud I held the phone at arm's length and frowned. "I'm selling my own company, what's it to you?" At Gray Holdings that day, the CEO's office was a minefield. Whoever stepped inside got blown up. Even Juliet was kicked out. Then Grant, Colton's lifelong friend, arrived. The room was freezing, hazy with smoke. Grant found Colton at the picture window, cigarette glowing. He honestly hadn't expected Sierra to unload the agency so cleanly. That business was her blood, sweat, and tears. Colton dragged hard on the cigarette, then stubbed it out with vicious force, chest tight with nowhere for the rage to go. "You're mad she sold her own company?" Grant asked lazily. When Colton stayed silent, Grant frowned. "Man, Sierra gave you 6 years. Are you really done with her?" Grant wasn't the only buddy who disliked Juliet. Years ago she'd ghosted Colton and latched onto his older brother. If the guy hadn't died, they'd be married by now. And while Colton was with Sierra, Juliet kept circling. Grant alone had caught them tangled up no fewer than 10 times. "Who the hell does she think she is?" Colton snarled, slamming the desk. "Grant, buy her agency back under your name. I'll pay whatever it takes." Grant snorted. "Buy it back for what? You know Sierra, once she decides, she's gone for good. You know her that well?" Colton's eyes slit. Fine, I'll go buy it." Grant threw his hands up and lumbered out. Colton lit another cigarette, Sierra's bright face flickering in his mind, the tightness in his chest now unbearable. "Mom phoned several times. I ignored them all. Somehow she sniffed out my address and showed up at the door. Eyes red, she glared. 'Let's dial back your brother's house. 180. You pay 180 grand, deal?' Sierra, without a house he can't get married." She jutted her chin. "If you won't cough it up, I'm staying. I'll stand downstairs and announce how heartless you are." I watched her calmly and sipped my lukewarm water. She squirmed, softened her voice. "Honey, your kid brother has to marry sometime. I'll support you, Mom, but I won't bankroll Sean forever." I went to the bedroom, grabbed a debit card registered in her name. "Keep this. As long as you stay away from gambling, there's enough to keep you comfortable." She pocketed the card, suspicious. "Sierra, I'm leaving." Go where?" I shrugged. "Not sure, but I probably won't come back." I picked a southern city with no direct flights. I rode the express train, switched to regional rail, watched the scenery drift by, unhurried and light. The little town's tourist trade was still waking, so crowds were thin. I hired a guide, wandered a few days, then rented a cottage. The old quarter of Willow Haven was quiet, life moving at a stroll. My place sat beside a wildflower meadow, pushed the window and the lake glittered like spilled coins. Each evening I watched the sunset frame the water, my new favorite ritual. Half a month in, Ivy WhatsApped me a video from the Gray estate. Colton's parents had split when he was small. His father drank and chased women. Colton and his brother were raised by their iron-willed grandmother. Tonight was her 80th birthday celebration. Juliet crashed the party claiming to be Colton's girlfriend. The old lady slapped her on the spot. Gray discipline is no joke, and Grandma Gray doesn't blink. Juliet had been engaged to Colton's dead brother, now she was gunning for him. On camera, Grandma cursed Juliet in front of guests, face flushed with contempt. At the end I heard her ask, "Where's Sierra?" Ivy texted, "Juliet plotted to force Colton's hand at the banquet. Grandma just torpedoed it." I replied with a few non-committal emojis. That night an unknown number rang. Before leaving town, I'd blocked every line Colton knew. Watching the screen, I felt it was him. I didn't pick up. I pulled a craft brew from the fridge, parked myself beside the counter, and let it ring. I stayed in Willow Haven 3 months. The day I packed for the next stop, Colton arrived. I was across the lane slurping rice noodles when his tailored suit filled the doorway, the back of it, anyway. 3 months was apparently all he needed to track me. I gulped the last bite, grabbed my suitcase, asked the cafe owner for a ride to the station. A panel truck idled outside. I slipped the owner $200, and she cheerfully heaved my luggage aboard. The truck lurched just as Colton stepped out, face storm dark. My former landlord owned the B.B he'd booked. Colton's gaze swept toward our vehicle. I dropped my eyes to my phone and typed Ivy. Turns out he and Juliet had split. Ever since that night Colton spat the word bed partner, I'd understood. All those years I'd been useful, strategist by day, body warmer by night. Plus, with me in plain sight, who'd suspect him and Juliet? Even Grandma Gray had been fooled. The truck rattled toward the station. I watched Colton shrink in the mirror, feeling lighter than I had in years. I loved a man like that for 6 years. Right now, though, I'm nothing but grateful that I've broken free. The woman driving the van smiled and cheerfully asked where I planned to stop next. Truthfully, I hadn't decided. When the moment feels right, I'll just buy a seat on the next express train, roam wherever the rails take me, and if some place feels like home, I'll linger for a few months before moving on. Colton has changed completely. He's become ruthless, brisk, and bone-silent. He personally investigated what happened between Sierra and Mr. Client back then, and only then discovered that the day the contract was signed, Sierra had secretly phoned Mr. Client's wife. So Mr. Client never got what he wanted. Yet Juliet had sworn to him that Sierra had slept with the man, even showing him snapshots of Sierra and Mr. Client entering the same hotel room. How had he felt at the time? A gutting fury at betrayal and utter helplessness. So he froze her out, even in bed, each time rough, driving her until she lay limp and breathless. When had he realized he actually loved her? Colton can't pin the moment down. Maybe he'd loved her all along but refused to face it. He now understands that what he felt for Juliet was only the obstinate ache of a boy who couldn't have his first love. The instant Juliet became his brother's girlfriend, any future between her and him had snapped shut forever. The one in his heart is Sierra. Pity he saw it too late. Inside a private room at Ivy, Colton invited no one but Grant, yet halfway through the first bottle Juliet appeared. Though he'd told her they were finished, how could she accept it? She'd latched onto his older brother only because that man would inherit the Grey Empire. Marrying anyone less than the best was out of the question. And then Jordan died far too soon. Luckily, Colton made an able spare. She had waited, cast her line for years. Now he dared dump her? Impossible. What are you doing here? Before she could speak, Colton's gaze flicked over her, ice cold. I thought I'd made myself clear. We're done. Colton. Juliet excels at wounded innocence, eyes shimmering, lower lip trembling. Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't, it's me. He lifted his glass, drained it, eyes squeezed shut. Me and my blindness. I lost Sierra. Juliet froze, her lip nearly bleeding under her bite. Okay, Colton, you're drunk, Grant cut in, stepping between them. Juliet, head home. Whatever needs saying can wait. She shot one last look at Colton, unwilling, then left. Grant exhaled. All this searching, still no trace of her? Colton sagged against the sofa, scrubbing a hand over his face. She's determined to disappear this time. She's only angry. When she calms down, she'll come back. Even if she returns, what's it to you? Grant snapped. You're the one who messed up. Quit the brooding act. I want to find her. Colton sat bolt upright, eyes fixed on Grant. I sent her away. I'll bring her back myself. 2 years later, on a plane-tree-lined avenue abroad, 4-year-old Kaylin was staging a sit-down strike, demanding I buy him a cupcake. No way. I pinched his chubby cheek. Your dad swore he'd dock my pay if I slip you another sugar bomb. The boy tilted his head, wide-eyed. Can't we sneak one? Recalling his father's frosty face, I hardened my heart. Not a chance. March, young man. Kaylin harumphed. As I reached for his hand, I froze. Colton. I blinked, sure my eyes were playing tricks. He looked thinner, drained, as if he hadn't slept in weeks. Sierra. I finally found you. He lunged and hugged me so hard the air whooshed from my lungs. I thought I'd lost you forever. Sierra, why wouldn't you give me one chance? ? Who you? Let go of my Sierra. Kaylin pummeled Colton with tiny fists. Let her go. I wrenched free. Who is he? Colton stared at the child, then at me. Sierra, whose kid? My son. I glanced at him, took Kaylin's hand, and turned to leave. Colton seized my arm like a madman. You had a child with another man? The roar rang in my ears. Only after the shout did the math hit him. Kaylin looked 4, yet I'd been gone barely 2, impossible. Kaylin wasn't born to me. A year ago, while traveling abroad, I found the lost boy wandering. Mixed-raced, his father shares my nationality, his mother died giving birth. Terrified, Kaylin would cling to no one but me. His father pulled some strings, and presto, I became the kid's $1 million a year nanny. Clean air, quiet town, fat paycheck, light workload, and no one back home waiting for me anyway. Sierra, I kept searching. Colton's eyes reddened. Come home with me, please. No. I frowned. So I can slip back into being your secret bed warmer? I'm not that cheap. It's not like that, he blurted. I was an idiot. I hurt you. Marry me, Sierra, this time I mean it. Are you delusional? I coughed in exasperation, and Kaylin chimed, wide-eyed, if you're fine, have a plum. Sierra, please come back. Juliet is history. I swear you'll never see her again. Trust me, okay? What's going on here? A black sedan glided to the curb. Daniel stepped out and walked toward us. Kaylin's father, 5 years my senior, raised abroad, a steel-handed tycoon. Refined, handsome, ruthless beneath the polar opposite of Colton. Daddy. Kaylin sprinted over, yelling, someone's trying to steal your wife. Little traitor. Who are you? Colton sized Daniel up in his bespoke suit and instinctively reached for me. I sidestepped. Sierra is my son's tutor, Daniel said in perfect Mandarin, voice even. Sir, if you keep harassing her, don't blame me for getting impolite. At his signal, the 4 bodyguards behind him stepped forward in unison. Colton's brows clamped tight. With that wall of suits blocking him, he could only watch as Daniel ushered Kaylin and me into the car. From that day Colton clung like a burr. Every time I stepped outside he appeared, singing the same refrain, come home, he'd marry me, he'd throw the grandest wedding ceremony. Sierra, give me one more chance, please. Outside the lakefront mansion he blocked my path, making grabs for my hand. Heat flared in my chest. Is this fun for you, Colton? I asked quietly. It's been 2 years and you're still looping the same tired track. If you'd ever meant to marry me you'd have done it in those 6 years, not waited until I was shredded to beg for amends. He stared, lips parting, no sound escaping. Sierra. A hand settled on my shoulder. Daniel drew me aside a few steps, gaze flicking past Colton. Should I call the police? Forget it. I shook my head. I need groceries. Care to escort me, Daniel? My pleasure. He lifted his hand and let it fall, and we walked away. Colton tried to follow, sulking, but 2 bodyguards appeared out of nowhere and blocked him. In a corner I couldn't see, they beat him black and blue. There was a big supermarket nearby. After walking a few minutes I turned to Daniel and thanked him. His face was blank. You're Kaylin's teacher. I just didn't want Ellis's private affairs to affect your real job. TCH. This guy. But he'd always been like this, cool, distant, occasionally unreasonable, and I was used to it. Inside the store I grabbed a cart, never noticing the dark gaze Daniel pinned on my back. I didn't see Colton again after that day. Maybe he'd flown home, I didn't care. While Kaylin was at preschool I started teaching myself a foreign language. When the little master came home I fed him, bathed him, tucked him in. His last nanny had abused him, so he fought every new caregiver. I was soft-hearted, I couldn't stand watching the kid cry, so I stayed. His dad, to his credit, overpaid me outrageously. One night, after I'd finally coaxed Kaylin to sleep, I went downstairs for water and found Daniel in the living room with a glass. He asked if I wanted one. The house was full of vintage wine. The housekeeper had bragged that Mr. Ashford's collection opened at 6 figures a bottle. I couldn't resist. Then I won't be polite. I poured myself a glass, pale red, fruity and floral at first, then a slow burn that spread through my mouth. That man who kept bothering you, Daniel swirled his glass, casual. Ex-boyfriend? No. I paused. At most, an ex-bed warmer. Surprise flickered across his face, so I kept going. 6 years. I held his hand through hell, and you know what he called me? Daniel stayed silent. I tossed the drink back and poured another. A bed partner. I laughed. My eyes stung. The one he really loved was his older brother's fiancée. Funny, right? An unreadable emotion crossed Daniel's face. The liquor was strong, 2 glasses and the floodgates opened. I rambled forever, though I couldn't later remember what. My only hazy memory is Daniel sighing as he carried me upstairs. Half a month later I flew home. My mom had been in a crash, and my half-brother Sean had vanished. The hospital couldn't reach him, so they traced me. The injuries were grave. If she didn't wake up, the next stop was a vegetative state. I spent the first day running between departments until I understood what had happened. After I left 2 years ago, Mom stopped bankrolling Sean. She gave him only 10 grand of the 50 and saved the rest. He stormed out and disappeared. Daughter gone, son gone, her mind unraveled. She wandered into traffic while buying groceries. On day 2, Colton showed up. He didn't cling this time. He was the cold, shrewd CEO again. He said nothing, just sat with me. When lunch came, his executive assistant delivered food in a thermal bag, everything I used to love. I sighed. You don't have to do this, Colton. I don't blame you anymore. His eyes lit until I added, we ended 2 years ago. It's tiring. Sierra. He shut his eyes. Is it because of that Brit? You love him, Daniel. I'd drunk myself stupid that night, babbled God knew what, and the next morning he'd left on a business trip. He still wasn't back. It has nothing to do with him. I looked Colton squarely in the eye. Even without Daniel, you and I are impossible. I don't eat old grass, Colton. Not ever. He left after one long last look, saying nothing. I thought I'd been clear. Anyone with pride would quit. I stayed at the hospital all day, slept at a nearby hotel at night. No change. The doctor suggested a foreign specialty unit. I promised to think about it. That evening I left the ward and saw Colton outside the hotel clutching a colossal bouquet of red roses. Pedestrians gawked. Sierra. He strode toward me, starting to drop onto one knee. The crowd froze. Suddenly, Mommy. A solid little cannonball rammed my legs. Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. I looked down into Kaylin's mischievous grin. A few yards behind him, Daniel walked toward us, elegant as ever. Colton stood petrified, roses in hand, halfway to kneeling. Kaylin shouted, Uncle, are you proposing to my mommy? I thought Colton might crumble on the spot. Daniel reached us, sliding an arm around my shoulders, and the 2 Ashfords escorted me into the hotel. Sierra. Colton's hoarse voice chased us. Will you really never forgive me? I didn't turn, I just walked faster. The night Juliet drunk dialed him, we'd already cremated what was left of us. Mom finally woke. I stayed 3 months. Kaylin stayed too. His dad threw enough money to enroll him in the neighborhood preschool. Daniel himself felt complicated. 35, always looking like victory was inevitable. I suspected he liked me, but since he never spelled it out, I played dumb. Right now romance was optional. Mom, however, grilled me nightly about Mr. Ashford. I dodged every pass. Year-end, I was planning to fly Kaylin home when Daniel arrived at midnight. He called. I tiptoed to open the door. The moment it swung wide, he pulled me into a cool, crisp hug that lasted several heartbeats. Happy birthday. He produced a box. Only then did I realize the clock had slid past 12, today was my birthday. Sierra, if the first person to wish you happy birthday also confesses, what are his odds? I half laughed. 1%. The other 99 depend on performance. 6 years with Colton were ash, 2 years of silt had settled. I was ready to risk something new. If it crashed, fine, I still had money. Love was just seasoning for boredom. A fling was fine, but 100% of my heart. Never again. 50, tops. Deal. Daniel followed me inside, grinning. I'll perform. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, like and share. Drop your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. See you next time.